Hello, everyone. I'm Khaled Soliman, the CEO of ZConsulto, deeply immersed in the world of ERP and business innovation. Welcome to ERP Talks. Today, we are joined by Richard Duffy from SMB Solutions Cloud Services, a well known figure in the ERP market. Richard, with your extensive SAP Business One knowledge and cloud technology experience in many regions, it's fantastic to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me along, and hopefully, I can deliver some value for all of your watchers and listeners.
Sure. So, to our audience, remember to show some love on LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you are tuning in on Apple or Spotify podcast, a five-star review goes a long way. Please don't hesitate to send any questions or suggestions. Also, if there is someone specific you would like to hear on our podcast, just drop a comment and we will do our best to invite them for an episode. So, Richard, I enjoy beginning our episode by learning about my guest journey. Could you share with us your career story?
Sure, and this could take up to an hour to an hour and a half because I've just turned 60 last month, and one of my previous managers once referred to me as an ERP dinosaur. Actually, I think it was the CEO of Acumatica at the time, because I'd been around for such a long time. But it's a little bit of a diverse scenario, but I think, the diversity of my background kind of helps me do what I do. But when I very first started out in work, I didn't finish high school. I didn't go to university. I didn't even graduate high school.
Interesting.
In Australia, you'd have to do 12 years of school. I did 10, didn't do the last two, and then didn't go on to
Mm.
university because I wanted to get out into the workforce. I started working actually in the movie industry of all things for a couple of distribution companies, one called United Artists and another one then after that called 20th Century Fox. And I used to work on the side of the business where they did the distribution, the booking of the movies into the cinemas and all the promotion and all that kind of thing. Back in the days when there was only a certain number of prints of the film, and we had to keep these big books where we kept a record of which print, which copy of the movie was going to be in which cinema at which point in time, because then we would ship them all over the country and they would load them up onto the projectors. Of course, now it's all digital, so none of that's relevant anymore. So I got to start doing that. Then I'll shrink this part down because it's not so relevant. Then I decided to get my first sales job doing cold calling. Then after that, I decided to become, of all things, don't laugh, because I'm not as small and as fit as I used to be. I became a fitness instructor, an aerobics instructor. Back
Okay,
in the
cool.
days when Olivia Newton-John was dancing around in lycra and sweatbands singing "Let's Get Physical," I was dancing around in lycra and sweatbands as well, actually getting physical. So try not to keep that image in your mind if you can. It's kind of
I
scary,
can.
but it was one of those. It was one of those things that I did. Then I joined the army, smashed up my ankle 6 weeks into basic training. I got
Oh
kicked out
man.
after a year because they couldn't get me back in because of the disability to my ankle. I became a builder's labourer. Then decided to start my very first business doing waterproofing, where we would put the membranes down on flat roofs of buildings to waterproof.
Yeah.
Got my very first computer as part of that, a Commodore SX64, which, yeah, as I said, was my very first computer, and the rest, as they say, is history. That took me to about 1985, I think, and then I joined a company called Attache that used to do an ERP, well, an accounting software package. We called it then, accounting software package for small businesses. Back in the days when computers had 8-inch floppy disks, you had the programs on one floppy disk, the data on another.
Oh.
Um, and back when, a 10 megabyte hard disk would be, this massive box. But so yeah, been around in the industry for a while. So yeah, worked for that company, then decided, you know what? I think I could become an ERP partner and go out and implement this stuff for people. In typical young man's overconfidence and foolishness, that's what I decided to do. Went out and started my own business. Then in 1997, I heard about this product, this software package for these computers called Apple Macs, these new computers called Apple Macs. And I thought, accounting software on the Mac, that's the future. And so I became one of the very first partners selling a product in Australia called Great Plains. And then I ended up becoming an employee of Great Plains. I gave my business to another partner because I wanted to change. Became one of the first employees of Great Plains in Australia. They then got acquired by Microsoft. I then relocated to the United States, got a job offer from my previous boss at Great Plains to go and become the Chief Technology Officer of an ERP company called Pronto, which you may or may not have heard of. It's mainly popular in Australia. We were trying to break into the US market. So joined them and then came back again to Microsoft Great Plains, ended up that was when the product was named Dynamics. So the very first Dynamics product in the Microsoft suite was Great Plains. And then, of course, Microsoft acquired Navision and Exapta, and all the products then became known as Dynamics. They had Dynamics GP, AX, and NAV, and even Sol, which was the Soliman product. So I was involved in the GP part of that business, and I'm almost finished. Okay. So then in 2003, a guy that I worked with at Attaché called me and he said, "Hey, I'm working for this German software company called SAP, and we've got this new product for small and mid-sized businesses called SAP Business One. Do you want to come on and help us launch it into Australia?" So I was ready for a change. So I said yes. So joined SAP in 2003. Day 2 of my career at SAP, I was on a plane to Waldorf in Germany to go and visit the team over there. And the rest, as they say, is history. I spent some time helping to build the business in Australia. Then I became responsible for the product and partners and partner enablement for Asia Pacific, helped launch the product in various countries throughout Asia, including India. And then ended up being because I like to talk, which you probably have figured out by now, and I'm reasonably good at it. I ended up becoming the global product evangelist. So I used to spend a lot of my time traveling the world, talking at conferences about SAP Business One, teaching partners about sales, about marketing, about pre-sales, and also how to implement SAP Business One. 2013, decided again it was time for a change, was approached by Acumatica to go and become their Vice President of Channel Strategy and Partner and Enablement in Kirkland in Washington. So went to Kirkland to do that, and was a little bit of a square peg in a round hole, I think. But it was a good year and a half I spent there, and I learned quite a bit. And still love Acumatica as a product. Fantastic product. And can't talk too highly enough about it. What they've done with it in Australia under the name of MYOB Advanced, I'm not such a fan of, because Acumatica sells the product in some countries under OEM agreements, and what MYOB have done with it in Australia has lessened the value proposition of the product, I think, and created some challenges. But yeah, so I went to work for them. Long story short, came back to Australia. A bunch of people said to me, "Hey, Richard, we need somebody who can do cloud hosting of SAP Business One for Australia." And then SAP said, "Hey, we need somebody that can do it for Asia Pacific as well." So I launched my cloud hosting business, and the rest, as they say, as I already said, is history. I employed all of my kids. So we're a family business. So if you ring us up
So
and
smart.
Yeah, if you ring for support, you'll speak to usually somebody called Duffy. You'll get
Yeah.
either me or one of my two sons, Liam or Callum, and they're both in their late 20s, early 30s. My daughter, Taylor, she's our marketing and finance person. Now, there's a combination, marketing and finance, but she does both of those tasks for us. And she also does a little bit of tech support, because our philosophy is that everybody should be able to support our customers. We love it when customers
Yeah.
ring, because we love to talk to them. Usually they only ring when they've got a problem, so we don't love it that they've got a problem, but we love having the opportunity to talk to them. And so we all need to be able to handle those basic support tasks, and that's what we've been doing ever since. We've now got customers all over the world on our ERP platform. And you caught me just in time, because in what's today? Today's Thursday here. In 3 days' time, I jump on an aeroplane to fly to Germany, where we are deploying our latest data center in an Equinix data center in Munich, where we will be offering SAP Business One in the cloud for organizations in EMEA. We already have customers in EMEA, but a lot of them have said, look, the data has to be here in a European Union country. And it's better for latency of connections and things like that. So, we've invested, purchased all of the equipment, shipped that to the data center there in Munich, and I'll be shipping myself there on a plane in 3 or 4 days' time to
Good for you.
continue our global expansion.
Yeah.
So global expansion actually driven by customer demand, to be honest, not driven by my maniacal plans for world domination. I'm not focused on trying to grow a massive business. We want to just be, we want to deliver a great service at an affordable price that is the most secure, and most importantly, allows customers using SAP Business One to take advantage of everything that you can take advantage of in SAP Business One. And we'll probably talk about this a bit more, but I think right now there's a lot of customers out there who don't realize what they've got with SAP Business One and what they can do, and how much they can actually do. All these things that people talk about the future of ERP, and sometimes SAP go, well, you've got to move to this product, or you've got to move to that product. You've got to go to S4HANA, or you have to do this, you have to do that. So much of that, almost actually all of it, from an architectural and a technology adoption perspective, you can do with SAP Business One. That's part of my job, I think, is to evangelize what is possible with SAP Business One. So you had a very short question, and I've given you an incredibly long answer, but hopefully
No, this is
it
really
sets the
inspiring.
stage.
Yeah, this is really inspiring. How the diversity, and also how you started in different careers, then you educate yourself, you shift your career in multiple companies, in multiple sectors. This is really
Mm,
inspiring. But I have a question here.
mm.
So the number one, SMB Solutions is only giving cloud hosting services, or you are also doing like implementations? You are
Great question. So we made a decision that even though we could do the Business One sales and implementation and support, we made a decision that we would not. Because what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to offer a cloud hosting solution that partners could resell, and not worry about their cloud hosting partner suddenly knocking on the customer's door saying, hey, did you know we could actually sell you your SAP Business One? We could do your implementations. We could do your consulting work for you. Would you like to use us instead of your partner? So from our perspective, we made that decision so there is zero conflict of interest. We constantly get approached by customers asking for us to do the support. But our answer is always no. Go back to your partner.
yeah,
They will help you with that. And then we focus on helping the partner. So I must admit, I spend most of my time doing technical support for our partners, helping them with SAP Business One. Because sometimes getting support from SAP can be a little bit of a challenge, takes some
Yeah,
time,
take some
and
time.
I've been doing it for so long. Um, you know, there's not too many scenarios that we have not encountered that we can't help with. And if we don't know the answer, we can help them find the answer, and we can certainly help diagnose it. So, yeah, that was a decision that we made early on in the piece. Um, and I'm very happy with that decision. And that will
Yeah.
continue to be our model.
So you
We
are
don't want to
focusing
compete with our
only
partners.
on the cloud hosting. Okay.
Purely on the cloud
Yeah.
hosting, we just make sure that SAP Business One in the cloud sings, that it works beautifully, that it's incredibly secure. And then, as I said, that customers and partners, of course, can
And
take
affordable.
advantage of. They can take advantage of all of the capabilities that's in
Yeah.
SAP Business One and do it in the cloud. We've been delivering Business One, for example, the full Business One in a web browser for 7 years.
Yeah.
Um, Back, I used to have these arguments with SAP, and they would say you can't put Business One in a browser, and then I would open up our platform and show them, and they would still not necessarily believe that what I'd shown them was real. So
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So my second question here, before we jump to the main questions, you mentioned that your family are working with you, your daughter.
mhm.
It, was this like a plan? You planned to do that, or it happened like that? You didn't plan for that.
It's an interesting story, and let me apologize in advance for anybody who immediately switches off after I say this, but my political leanings are a little bit, well, probably a lot to the left. Um, some people might even say I'm a socialist, but I found that my kids were struggling because they were constantly they were used to work in the travel industry, and there was a lot of things going on in that industry that where employees were being badly taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So I was looking to expand the business, and I thought, well, I should probably start by hiring my own family first and give
Yeah.
them a career, give them the opportunity to learn some things, and then, um, then they would be able to take over the business if I ever decide to retire.
Yeah.
So, it just happened to work out that way. And I've not regretted the decision. It's been a great decision. And the upside is that now my children actually have to listen to me because I'm their boss. Whereas for those of you who are parents will know that children don't always listen to you because you're their parent, but
Yeah.
when you're their boss, it's a little bit easier. But no, they're all great and
So
haven't
smart for
regretted the
you as well.
decision. But I have some very specific
Yeah.
thoughts about hiring and how what you need to focus on when you are hiring. Because I wouldn't have hired my kids wouldn't still be working for me if they didn't fit the the requirements that we have.
Yeah.
If that
So
makes sense.
no one of them like resist this decision to let them. So they didn't resist you when
Uh,
you offered them this opportunity. They didn't resist because some kids say, no, I don't want to work with my family. I don't want. I
mm,
want
mm.
to feel like I can take my own decision. So they didn't do that.
No, occasionally, like all businesses do, we have some, we have some pushback and we have some disagreements and things like
Yeah,
that. But no,
it's normal. Yeah,
it's a normal business
yeah,
relationship. So yeah, in answer to your question, it's been a good decision. But yeah, like I said, my kids all meet the criteria of what I was looking for in employees, which is
yeah,
they're keen to learn, they're open to new experiences, and for me that's the number one thing that I have always looked for, and I always advise people to look for when they're making a hiring decisions. Find people who have a natural curiosity and a willingness to learn, because I'm 60 and I've written blog posts and LinkedIn posts about this. every day, well, maybe not every day, but every week, I learn something new. Um, and that's the great thing about our industry, is that there's always something new to learn. If you're not prepared to learn, then you shouldn't really get into the ERP space.
Yeah.
I read a book when I was a kid called The Phantom Toll Booth. And some of your watchers, listeners, might have heard of the same book, The Phantom Toll Booth by Norton Juster. Really good children's young adult story, but it was full of little throwaway remarks. And one of them was a character said, you can swim all day in the sea of knowledge and come out completely dry. Um,
Oh.
and, to me, I look for people who can swim in the sea of knowledge and come out dripping wet, so that they soak in and absorb all of that knowledge. Because there is a lot to learn when you're doing ERP. And with SAP Business One, there's a lot to learn. You have to know the actual applications, but then from a technology stack, you have to know, if you're going to do HANA, you have to know Linux, you have to learn HANA, then you have to learn SQL, then you have to learn Windows, then you have to learn networking technologies and all these kinds of things, particularly if you're going on premises. Of course, in the cloud, we take care of all of that. So all you have to do is know how to use a browser. But, um, those are the kinds of skills I think you need to be a really good ERP consultant. And fortunately, and I think you're going to ask me a question about this, but fortunately, it's not that hard to learn.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, and we will come through the advices for the SAP consultants or the ERP
Mm.
consultants. We will come to that.
Yep.
Um, but
Let's hold that one then.
before we explore SAP Business One, and you mentioned that you spent 1 year in Acumatica as a
Yep.
vice president. So,
Yep.
could you share how this transition occurred? And also, can you give us more insights about Acumatica as a product, as an ERP solution? It's only 10 years for Acumatica now
Yes.
on the market. What do you think about Acumatica, and what was the story of Acumatica?
Okay, great question. So I think I ended up being there for about a year and a half, but um, Acumatica, they approached me. One of my colleagues at SAP went to work for them, and then he said to them, "Hey, I know this guy in Australia. You should have a chat to him." So yeah, they approached me, and I agreed to go and work for them and relocate to Seattle. Um, Acumatica, yes, it's only been on the market for, I think it's a bit more than 10 years now, but its original heritage. The founders of Acumatica were involved in the product which was called Soliman. So they already had a rich understanding of what was involved in the ERP space. But the thing that made Acumatica so good and made me fall in love with it was the technology platform. The guy who's the chief technology officer, a guy called Mike, they call him Mike C, Mike Chelkonogov. He has built this framework for building transactional applications. That was originally how it started off. But then they said, because of all their experience with Soliman, they said, you know what, we've built a really good platform, a really good framework to build an ERP product. So that's what they did. And the things that make Acumatica great are the platform, the functionality that is there, the extensibility that's available for partners to tailor the look and feel of the software. Um, and most importantly, for certainly in the North American market, the licensing model that they have, where you don't pay per user. So there's not a false barrier to getting the ERP in the hands of everybody in the organization. So all of those things, make Acumatica a great product, and I can certainly understand why a lot of partners, when they want to do multiple products, they add Acumatica to the product family.
Yeah.
But my first love is, and always will be now, Well, not my first love. My first love was really Great Plains, or Dynamics GP. But where I plan to spend the rest of my life focused is on SAP Business One because, um, there's a lot of great things you can do with
Yeah,
with
that takes
one
me
as well.
to this question, which is, and I can feel that. Why do you prefer SAP Business One? What makes you love SAP Business One like that? I feel that.
Um, so, well, first of all, I know the product inside out, upside down. Um,
Mm,
I've been doing it for so long, since 2003, and I know all of the, well, I don't know all of the people, that's an overstatement, but I know so many of the people in the community. I know so many of the people at SAP who are behind the product. I've seen the product, when it's implemented correctly, um, do the most amazing things for the businesses that have bought the software. And there is so much capability that the product has, and there are so many things you can do with the product, that I think we've only just scratched the surface. Even before we get into the whole topic of, is there a new generation of SAP Business One coming? With the product that exists today, if you're on version 10 and you're on at least feature pack, I don't know, 2111, there is so much technology there that you can utilize for digital transformation. All the things that all the consultants talk about that are important, and all the things that they talk about that are important to helping a business grow, and leverage technology. You can do all of that in SAP Business One with the service layer, the web client, the API gateway, the fact that it runs on HANA, and the fact that it also runs on SQL, and you can do a lot of these things on both platforms. Um, the fact that you can integrate it with a whole range of other web technologies, not just SAP's business technology platform, but also Microsoft's Power platform. You can do all of these things. Those integrations in Business One are available, and they're standards-based integrations. So you can do so much. You just have to be willing to look at it, and be able to identify what the problem is you're trying to solve. And there's a pretty good chance you can solve it with Business One. So that's why I'm
yeah.
focusing on Business One, and there is the future is bright for Business One. There's been so many. Paul Simon sang a song and he talked about hints and innuendos. There've been so many hints and innuendos of people saying, "Oh, Business One is finished. It's this. It's that."
Yeah.
That is definitely not the case. I mean, the product has 80,000 customers around the world, but so many people don't even know that about Business One, and they act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There are more Business One customers than there are using Dynamics Business Central. I think there's more Business One customers than there are people using NetSuite, and so on and so forth. Not that it's a competition to see, who's got the most customers, but it's an indication of the product, that the customers want to buy it, and importantly, they want to stay with it. Business One has a phenomenal renewal rate on annual maintenance.
Yeah.
Customers just keep renewing every year. Um, SAP's challenge is to make sure that they continue to deliver innovations, which I think they're doing, and continue to invest in the product, and which I know they're doing, and that they continue to deliver more than just bug fixes, which I know they're doing. And that's a conversation that I'll be having with Oliver Barner, who heads up the Business One product team. Now I'll be meeting with him next week when I'm in Munich, and I'll be sharing a few of my thoughts on these topics, and get a little
Yeah.
bit
Sure.
more information from him about what's going on from a product perspective. And then, of course, for those partners out there, we've got the upcoming SAP summits in Singapore, Phoenix, Arizona, and then in Madrid in Spain. So everybody will get to hear a lot more about the future of Business One there, and we'll be there. I mean, I'm
Okay. This
sponsored.
is really exciting because I will be in Arizona, so we will meet.
We will meet face to face. Yep. So we
Yeah.
will be sponsoring. We'll be sponsoring those events, in Arizona and Madrid. So we'll have a booth there, and you'll see me there
Sure.
because I'm not the most quiet person. Um, and if there's a Q&A in any of the keynote sessions, you'll usually see me there asking difficult questions. So I plan to keep doing that. So
This is really interesting. So you mentioned in the LinkedIn post, you wrote a comment and you mentioned that the next generation of
mm,
SAP Business One product.
mhm.
So, what is the key advancement that we should expect from SAP?
Well, it's an interesting point because at last year's summit, Oliver Barner, who I'm meeting next week in Munich, stood up and he said, "Hey, we're building this next generation product, which will be there." They were calling it, I think they were calling SAP Business One Cloud, and the idea being that it would be hosted by SAP. It would be a very specific functional set, similar to what you get with S4HANA, but for small and mid-sized enterprises. So a clean core, for those of you who know what clean core means, it's a tightly encapsulated set of functionality that you build extensibility by loosely coupling to the application. Unlike what we do today with Business One, where you can build add-ons and complementary solutions and use products like the Business One usability package to directly modify the UI, the user interface of the product, and to directly interact in the user interface with the business logic, the business rules, the business flows of the software, um, which is the way it's always been done. And you will be able to continue to do that, as far as I can tell, for many, many years in the future. There's this new product isn't going to replace the Business One that we all know and love today. I think it will be a second stream, but in all honesty, I think it's a long way away. I think
Okay, so
SAP.
that means that it will be like separate. It will not be. So SAP will sell SAP Business One and this new thing, which is hosted by
Yes, as
SAP.
I understand it, they will be
Yeah,
two separate products. But again, I don't work for SAP, so I don't
yeah,
have to have a
yeah.
disclaimer
Sure, sure.
about forward-looking statements. But I'm basing this on what I've heard, what I've been told, what's publicly available information. I think it's going to take quite a while for them to get it right, because I think they do want to get it right.
Hmm.
They learned a lot from the business by design experience. Um, and so I think there was some challenges there, some mistakes made. They don't want to make those same mistakes again as they look at this new product for SAP Business One. So if I had a takeaway from all of that, I'd say there is yes, as I understand, there is a new product coming, but the existing product's not
So
going anywhere. And
it is not SAP Grow because I heard about SAP Grow, which is for the only the.
no,
Yeah.
grow SAP, and this is important and maybe a lesson for the SAP marketing people. SAP Grow and Rise with SAP are product bundling and packaging options for S4HANA public cloud. Okay, so Grow and Rise have nothing to do with SAP Business One. I did
Okay.
see somebody mistakenly
Yeah.
tried to run some kind of marketing campaign for SAP Business One and call it Grow. I think that got shut down really quickly by SAP. But yeah, do
Yeah.
not confuse Grow and Rise with anything to do with SAP Business One. That's all S4HANA. And just my personal opinion, there's a bunch of people running around there saying that S4HANA can be deployed in every business. That is fundamentally wrong. I think the starting point for S4HANA licensing is a couple of $100,000 and the implementation costs are the same. So
Yeah.
I don't know of a 5-user ERP customer who's going to be implementing S4HANA anytime soon. Um, we've got customers running Business One where they've got one user. We've got customers running Business One where they've got
Yeah.
700, 800 users. So, you know, Business One really does have a very broad appeal and a broad functional footprint. So, the thing I would say to people is start deploying the web client. Start getting used to the web client and seeing what you can do. Start wrapping your head around what the web client means and how it impacts on how you start to deliver the functionality and the business processes that your customers are asking you for, because it's a different style of development. And that's whether it's Business One, whether it's NetSuite, whether it's S4HANA, no matter what the product, ERP development, ERP customization, the building of ERP products to suit a customer's business, to solve a customer's business challenge and address their business problem is changing. The good news is you can address those changes and do that with the Business One you have today, but you just have to start getting used to it. Business One usability package is a great solution. And there was a question somebody was asking, what do I think is going to happen with Business One usability package? I'll actually be meeting with Boyum in 2 weeks in Denmark, because when I'm over in Europe, I'm going to Denmark. So I'll sit down with Michael Boyum and his team and ask them that same question.
Yeah.
But I know that they are working on a way of taking that kind of rich capability that you have with the usability package and trying to put that together with these new development techniques. But it's fundamentally different. You don't change the UI of the ERP anymore. You don't intercept the UI of the ERP. You don't plug into the UI of the ERP product anymore. You build in parallel. You loosely couple to the back end, and you integrate that way. So it's a completely different technique, a completely different process.
Is that means like it will be ready solutions and you can only like put the plugin? That's it. So let's say because now, yeah, the Boeing or any other company,
Mm-hmm.
they are developing their own software. Then
Mm-hmm.
you can integrate it, or if it will be embedded in SAP, like you will install it as an add-on. So what I understand, just to make sure that I'm 100% understanding you at this point, you mean it will be so SAP will be like that, and the other solution in parallel, then you will only like connect them directly. It will not take, so it will not be at the back end, like where what we are doing with Boeing, we are installing B1 usability and there's something happened in the back end and something happened in the front end. You can see the screens changed.
Yeah,
So because
I think
I feel confused about this point.
yeah. And this is an important point to make, and it can be confusing when you talk about this. So, and different people have got different agendas as they go out and they talk about these things. I don't have an agenda other than to help customers make the most of their investments. I don't have what do they say? I don't have a dog in the hunt. Although maybe you might say, well, I'm interested in making sure people stay with the existing Business One because that's what we host. But I think the answer to your question is it will be that you will have the core Business One, and you can do all of this today, all right? And people are doing it today. You have the core Business One, and then you have these the complementary solutions which run in parallel. Even with the web client today, I encourage you to go and look at the information that's available about building extensions for the web client, because this is how you do it today. These products, they sit side by side and they sit inside the web UI, but they are distinctly separate functional pieces of code that sit side by side. Now, they can talk at the back end and they can also talk at the front end,
Yeah.
but the front end integration is different. You're using webhooks and you're using APIs and things like that. So it's just a different mechanism to get to you can still get to the same endpoint. Khaled, I think
Yeah.
that's the key takeaway. You can still get to the same endpoint, just the path is different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that makes the confusion any less clear, but again, I go back to my point. Don't all this information is out there on the internet right now. You can find out about all these things. And of course, you can always reach out to people like me because I'm always happy to answer questions that people have.
Yeah, just to close this point, SAP will be on a web, but we will not lose Boeing. We will not lose this.
Boyum will change to adapt to the Business One that is completely web based. But
Yeah,
the point that I would make is the existing Business One and the existing Business One client that uses Business One usability, the Boyum usability package,
yeah.
that's not going anywhere in the next 10 years. So
Oh,
we'll be sitting here in 8 years' time, and that I guarantee you that product will still be available and there'll still be tens of thousands of customers using it. There'll just be a
oh,
second stream of customers using the newer technologies, and so on and so forth. But don't ever lose sleep that you're losing your investments. It would be my point. If I had $1 for
perfect.
every time somebody had told me some technology was dead, I'd be a very rich man. I mean, even Dynamics, even Great Plains, they face the same problem. There are people from Microsoft running around saying, oh, you've got to get off Dynamics GP, you need to move to Business Central, you need to move to what was the Dynamics AX product, which is now finance and supply chain, and you need to do that. There's still tens of thousands of customers going, no, I'm not going anywhere. The product does what I want and it's great, and thanks, but no thanks. So, you
Okay,
know,
so
don't
for
feel you're going to be forced to do anything.
perfect. This is makes me feel better because
Yep.
there is a lot of customers that is using SAB Business One and Boeing
Mm-hmm.
specifically, and for me it was a little bit, but as you mentioned, it will take some time, so that's good,
It'll take a long time.
and we can handle the transition.
Yep. Rome was not built in a day, and neither will the next generation of Business One be.
Perfect,
They're
perfect.
still going through strategic discussions and strategy
Yeah,
sessions, which partners and customers can participate in, by the way, to collect market feedback about what this product should be, how it should work. But the one thing that it is clear from the market is that the existing product will not get replaced. It
perfect,
will not go away.
perfect. So for SAB Business One existing customers also,
Mm,
um, and the transition to the cloud.
mm.
So how the transition to the cloud will happen without, um, as you mentioned, like uh, without paying a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is a good question, and in all honesty, this is what we do. This is what my entire business is focused on. I've taken my life savings and invested it in
yeah,
my SAP Business One cloud hosting business. And what we do is we help customers take their existing SAP Business One deployments, if they're on premises, and move them into the cloud. Um, and we also take new Business One deployments that partners sell, and the partner deploys those straight into the cloud with the existing SAP Business One product that we all know and love today. And the secret to it is, of course, is that when you deploy into the cloud, the you get rid of all of those costs that are involved in the day-to-day running of the applications. You get rid of all the costs of buying the hardware, of maintaining the hardware, of securing it, and doing all of that. So those costs go away, but they just get replaced. There's different
yeah,
different costs, but the costs are lower on a month to month recurring basis. You
perfect.
don't have to make those huge upfront investments. Um, but there is a cost involved. But and this is where you need to look at all the different cloud models. You can go out and you can work with a hyperscaler like AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, and you can build your own cloud environment.
Yeah.
Okay, you can, as a customer, you can take your own single tenant and you can lift and shift it up into the cloud on AWS or one of those hyperscaler platforms.
So you
But it will
offer.
be very expensive because you are
So
paying for all of that yourself. Whereas what cloud providers like ourselves offer is a multi-tenant environment. So you have the ability to take advantage of all of this really high-end infrastructure, but you only pay a very small slice of the total cost of that. So it makes it possible for you to do things with your Business One that you wouldn't have been able to afford to do otherwise. Hopefully that
okay.
makes sense.
So let's say I'm a customer and I want to do this transition.
Hmm.
Should I reach out to SMB Solutions directly, or should my partner like do that? Um,
Well, talk to your partner, because your
yeah.
partner is always your first port of call. Okay, because your partner knows more about your business. Your partner knows how you're using well, hopefully your partner knows how you're using the software because they deployed it for you.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes there are some challenges some customers have with their partners, that the partner does the implementation and then disappears, never to be seen again, because there's just not enough revenue there, or they've got their own strategic goals or whatever. I don't know, but you should always go back to your partner first. But
Yeah.
you can always reach out to me. I've got so many videos and things and blog posts and stuff that talk about all of this. But I will not sell it to you. And get involved in your SAP Business One deployment. That's not what we do.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
would ideally work with your with your partner. Now, we do have some customers who have come to us directly, and with the blessing of the partner, because some partners just don't want to be involved in that part. They say, Richard, you take care of everything to do with the cloud. You have your service level agreement, your agreement with the customer. We'll look after the Business One. You take care of the cloud. So there's a very clear
Yeah.
delineation between
Perfect.
what's our responsibility and what's theirs. So, we for us, the key is being able to deliver flexibility, um,
And
and
also
give customers and
SMB.
partners what they want. Mm.
Yeah, SME Solutions also have an existence in the United States. Are you giving also offers in the?
Yes, we've got
Yeah,
customers in the United States, we've got customers in Latin America, we've got customers in Europe, Asia, Australia, and New Zealand.
perfect, perfect.
Um, the only country where we're not right now is Africa, and that's mainly because there are challenges with infrastructure. But once we're up and running in Germany, we're going to have a look at that again and see if we can deliver a better experience, because you have to look at how does data get from the data center to the customer in all these different countries, and what path does it
Yeah,
have to take, and what is the latency? And latency is the big killer with web applications. So,
yeah.
we'll be revisiting that topic of whether or not we can do
When I
anything
was
in Africa.
working in Egypt, we were working with the company. I don't remember their name.
Mm-hmm.
It's a German company. Um, it's Cloud Thing. I don't remember
If it's a German company and they were cloud hosting, it was probably CloudX you're probably talking
Yeah,
about, who were the
CloudX.
very first guys
Yeah,
doing cloud hosting, back when, it was Larry Ellison was running around saying, oh, cloud is just somebody else's computer. So yeah, CloudX were the first.
yeah. So I believe the MENA region, the Middle East region, Egypt, Africa, North Africa, Saudi Arabia, all the Gulf, I believe they will be in a big need for this service
Mm.
because most of them are working with Amazon. And as you mentioned, SAP Business One, you need somebody that knows and understand and experience it, so you can have the best experience, you have the best quality. Um, so I believe after Munich, you should go to Africa.
Yeah, well, we'll be certainly looking at it, but we are totally self-funded. I made the remark before, my entire life savings is tied up in the business, so we're totally
Oh,
self-funded. So we don't have external investors. We don't have people putting money into the business.
yeah,
We fund our growth through the profits that we make from the current business. So, that's why we decided now the time is right. We'll put infrastructure into Germany. That we expect that will go well,
Maybe you
and
can
then
bring the
we'll look at.
service from Germany
Hmm?
to North Africa and to MENA region at the beginning.
My understanding is that we should be able to offer that, but we will do a significant amount of testing and making sure that we can before we actually do offer it.
Yeah,
We did look at trying to go into the Middle East, but we couldn't do it from Australia because the latency was too big. It was too
yeah,
great. Just couldn't do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
We'll
I can
revisit the
imagine.
topic once we're in Germany.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so Richard, my next question for you is, what is the one feature that you could magically add to SAP Business One? What would it be?
Okay, good question. It's the thing that I would say about Business One as it exists today. I mean, the product was first brought to market by SAP back in 2003, and was an existing product before that. For those of you who are aware, SAP acquired the product from Top Manage in Israel, and um, the the thing is that SAP have been steadily adding more and more features to the product over the years, and there is the rich ecosystem of complementary solutions, as I like to call them. Some people call them add-ons. I don't like the name add-ons because add-ons fall off. But complementary solutions, what I like to call them. My view on SAP Business One is that it's relatively feature complete. The big thing is when it comes to features on ERP software, you can keep adding more and more and more and more features to a product, and then it just becomes A, too complex, B, too expensive, and C, too hard to implement, and hard for companies, customers, potential users to identify whether or not the product is right for them. So the thing that I would say that SAP that I would like to see, and certainly people I talk to would like to see with SAP Business One as it goes forwards, is for it to enhance the stability of the product. I think over the last few months, over the last couple of years, there've been a few challenges just with um, a number of undocumented features, which caused some issues for partners and certainly for customers when they're utilizing the software. That's a point I'll be making next week when I meet with the head of the SAP product strategy group in Germany, um, and making it easier for people to consume the product. So it's not necessarily something that developers have to sit down and do, but I think it's something that SAP as an organization need to do to improve the enablement materials, the enablement processes that they have that helps customers and partners understand how to use what they already have. Because I said earlier in our discussion that, you know, SAP Business One's pretty impressive in terms of being able to utilize all these new technologies. Matter of fact, I can't think of a new technology that you cannot utilize together with SAP Business One as it stands today. I mean, even just last night, somebody reached out to me and they have a generative AI product slash platform that they are integrating with SAP Business One right now. And so, I know everyone wants to talk about AI. It drives me crazy, to be honest, because to me, generative AI right now, it's just a big plagiarism engine. It just sucks up everything that's already been produced by people, and put on the web, and gives you admittedly, a very nice way of asking it questions and a nice way of giving you back the information. I think that's where the big thing is with generative AI. But you know, all of these new technologies, you can do them with SAP Business One today. So for me, long answer to a short question, it's about making the product easier to adopt through explaining better what you can do and how you can do it. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
Well,
just
I
give
think
me.
so. I think all my answers are perfect.
Yeah, yeah, because you hit the point. So the thing that Mike Taylor also mentioned, that SAP have this lack of information regarding the product itself, or I don't know, they can't show people what they are doing. They can't. They maybe the marketing team. I don't know. The people who are working maybe in the technical thing also can show us those new things, those new features. If there's something fixed, there's a lack of information. And also, for that reason, many people do YouTube search for your content, for my content, to go through the steps in a straightforward way. So
Yeah,
this
no, and,
is,
and Mike's right. And I think he also made the comment that, as a new consultant, don't be so quick to go, asking for help, um, because there is a lot of information out there on the internet.
yeah,
You just have to go and do some looking. Now, admittedly, it is a frustration, certainly for me, because you can go and do a search on the internet about all kinds of topics, technical wise. We do it a lot because of all the different platforms that we have as a hosting partner. You can go and ask a question about an issue you're having with a Windows feature, and you'll get 50 different answers from 50 different people to the question, and potentially you've got 50 right answers, but there are 50 different permutations on how that person encountered that problem trying to solve that issue, that you then have to be able to interpret
yeah,
the information and determine what is right for you. And again, this is with generative AI. I don't know if you've seen it, but certainly there are so many posts on LinkedIn now, and there is even LinkedIn learning courses teaching you how to ask the right question.
oh,
Yeah, so
it's really cool.
if you ask the wrong question, you get the wrong answer.
Yeah,
um, or not necessarily the wrong answer, but you don't necessarily get the best answer. So,
yeah,
it is a challenge. And look, I think SAP will acknowledge that they went off chasing after this business by design thing. They put an inordinate, and this is all on public record, so I'm not, not saying anything here that I know that nobody else does. They spend an inordinately large amount of money on a product that right now I think there's only 7,000 customers worldwide.
yeah,
Count the number of companies that those 7,000 customers run. But they spend all that money on that product, and they diverted focus and resources away from Business One, which is like the children's story, the little fire engine that could. Business One's just kept plugging away there in the background every year, double-digit growth. Again, the numbers float up and down depending on who you're talking to, but these days it's around 80,000 customers using SAP Business One. And I've said this a number of times to people who listen to me at SAP, which sometimes isn't a lot of people because they get sick of me going blah, 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 blah. But, it should be 180,000 now. And if they had have kept the focus, it would be 180,000. But big corporates have their own strategies. People change, different people come into different roles in an organization, the focus changes, different people have different agendas, different board makeups drive different things. So, I mean, before it used to be the answer to everything
yeah,
was HANA. The answer is HANA. What's the question? Now it's the answer is BTP. What's the question? So everyone falls in lockstep behind the corporate mantra Right now it's BTP, BTP, BTP. So no matter what question you ask about B1 at the moment, the answer is, oh, well, it's BTP. You know,
Okay, so before we go to the BTB question,
mm, mm,
so
mm.
the first time I wanted to use the mobile app for
Yes,
SAP and to connect it to the server, I watched a video for Mike Taylor. He was doing
yeah,
this, the steps, step by step, and it was very easy for me to do it and to learn it. And I believe this is also so. When we started ZConsulto, it was the same way. Hey guys, we need to archive all the issues that we will face. I need a
yes,
step by step solution, because when somebody else come to the company and this issue um, happens again or something, you can go through the library that we created and do search by keyword, and you will
yeah,
find the step by step and also screenshots, everything. To
yeah.
We don't want to waste our time by opening a ticket, or sometimes you search, you are the first person who have this issue, so
I feel your pain, and we did exactly the same thing when I started the cloud hosting business. I knew that I wanted to build it in such a way that everything was easily repeatable, and that we
yeah,
could do what we needed to do without having to hire too many people. So the secret to that is making sure that you know the information that you need is easily findable again.
yeah, yeah,
And this is why, FAQs on websites are so important. And my approach, people ask me, how did you manage to generate so much content on the web about Business One? And as you can tell, I've said before on this call, I don't have a problem talking. But what I used to do was, even when I was at SAP, if I got asked the same question 3 times, I would just sit down and build a YouTube video or write a blog,
yeah,
because they told me that people weren't finding it easy to get the answer.
yeah,
So,
exactly,
I
yeah,
think the approach you're taking is definitely the right one. And then the secret is to make that available to your customers in a way that they can consume. Now, any customers who are watching this, don't take this the wrong way, but again, you have to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So, just as Mike
yeah,
said, for a consultant, if you're looking for an answer, go and have a look on the internet. For customers, it's a similar thing, and this is where I think ChatGPT can actually be quite helpful, because I've
exactly,
used it
yeah,
quite a bit to ask questions, and because it is, as I said, a plagiarism engine, it's just taking what's already been written and regurgitating it. A lot of the time, the answers are probably 90 to
yeah,
95%
near,
right.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was near,
they're almost good enough. The challenge is, you should never, and ChatGPT has the disclaimer: don't rely on the information without double checking. Don't just take a code sample and stick it into your productive environment and hit run. Horrible things will happen to you, and
and
the
I
God
believe
will punish you in eternity.
I believe also SAP maybe can work on an AI for SAP Business One to be like. I was thinking about that, but it will
Mm-hmm,
consume a lot of time to build internal AI that help customers. Not the I'm not talking about the partners. So
mm-hmm.
maybe the customer have an error while he is doing a transaction. So
Yes.
the AI tell him the steps. So go to here, one to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and the solution will be resolved. I don't know. I know that SAP have a lot of things that they want to do, but because of the AI now, and it is the trend. So I believe if they do something like that, it will be very helpful for the customers.
Yeah, I think. Well, as I said, as a company, actually, the person who heads up this company is a lady called Geraldine McBride, and Geraldine was a senior executive at SAP. And back when, in 2003, when I joined SAP, she was the person who hired me. She was the managing director of SAP Australia. So she reached out to me, and she's got a company called, I think it's My Wave, and they are doing exactly what you're talking about.
Oh,
According to what
interesting.
she said to me, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But we're going to set up a session to take a look at it, so I can determine what's real and what's
Yeah.
planned. And apparently, they're also at the upcoming partner summits. I believe there's potentially some sessions where they are going to be presenting
What is
what
the
they're
name
doing.
again?
It's called MyWave. So mywave.ai, I believe, is
Yeah,
the URL. So
Australian.
um, there's people involved in the company from all over the world, I believe, but New Zealand, actually, New
Okay.
Zealand / Australian.
So they will
So
attend
Geraldine, there you go. There's a free plug
Arizona.
already for MyWave.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's a case of watch this space. I've already seen there's another SAP partner in the United States, and they posted on LinkedIn that they've built a chat bot that
Yeah,
they use for,
consultaire.
yeah,
Yeah,
consultaire.
consultaire.
Um,
Yeah.
they built a chatbot using Chat GPT that goes
Yeah.
out and tries to answer some of those questions. So, you know, it's it. There's a song, "Everything Old Is New Again," and it's a little bit like that. It's just a better way of getting access to the information that's already out there. So, you're right. The SAP will get there. They have their AI platform that they've now called Joule, Joule, and a Joule, as you might know, is a unit of energy. So whether or
Yeah.
not Joule helps you save units of energy or expend more units of energy is yet to be determined.
Yeah.
Um, but the answer from SAP's perspective is, surprise, surprise, buy yourself some BTP, and then you'll get access to all these fabulous tools. You don't get anything without giving SAP some money for BTP. So yeah, we'll talk about BTP a
Yeah,
little more.
this is my next question, actually, the BTB. And so I attended a workshop for the BTP in Arizona also.
Ah,
And I want to know your opinion. I want also to let us know not only your opinion, but do you think that this is a big change and also for the vendors like Boeing? Because again, the BTB, it's different. They will
yeah.
need, I don't know, they will need to build the new application again. What they will do? So, what
Yeah.
do you think about the BTB?
Okay, a great question. Look, at the end of the day, SAP is a software vendor. And software, it's a public company, and software vendors are in business, no matter what they say, oh, we're here for our customers and blah, blah, blah. They're in the business to make money. And so BTP is basically another platform, which is an opportunity for SAP to generate revenue with.
Yeah,
There are lots of other alternative platforms to BTP from other vendors. Earlier in the call, I mentioned, you've got the Power Platform from Microsoft. Amazon have their own platform. Google have their own platform. So you've got all these different platforms to choose from. The important point is Business One is standards based. All of the things that are in Business One are standards based. So you can consume resources from all those different platforms. You just need to work out which one is the right one for you. And they've all got document recognition, and they've all got, all kinds of different aspects. Almost every single one of these platforms have the same things. I don't know of anything that's particularly spectacular about one versus another. That there's one that's got this fantastic functionality that makes it the go-to choice. Now, SAP will tell you that BTP is the go-to choice for any SAP product because it's also built by SAP. Well, if that was always the case, then you would never buy an aftermarket product for your iPhone or your Android or your car or anything like that. You would always operate in a closed ecosystem. So I think BTP is another choice. It's potentially a good one that customers have access to. The one point that I would make, and SAP have acknowledged this, they are struggling to set a price point which is attractive to small and mid-sized enterprises. It is incredibly expensive to get
yeah,
started with BTP, and just building those initial connections is very complex. Microsoft have done a better job of making that easy. And also, I'm not here to praise Satya Nadella and his team and slap SAP around. But you've got to call it how you see it. And Microsoft have done a really good job of making those things easy to consume and easy to consume at a price point
Yeah.
that is more appealing and more effective for small and mid-sized enterprises. SAP's answer is, well, don't get the customer to buy BTP services. You, Mr. Partner, you buy this chunk of BTP, which is going to cost you quite a lot of money, and then you slice it up into smaller pieces that your customers can consume. Like what we do as a hosting partner with our technology, with our average server that we buy is $90,000. And they are
Oh my
really
God.
high end, actually S4HANA certified servers. This is not the kind of technology that your average small or mid-sized enterprise can buy. We go
Oh,
out and we
sure.
buy five of these things and install them. It's not something that a small enterprise can do. So the advantage of our model is that we give them access to what they need from that at a price that they can afford. So SAP's answer, I think that's what they're saying with BTP, but they've got to do a better job of making BTP consumable for partners and customers in the Business One space, and making it more affordable. And going back to your previous point, explaining what it is and how to do it in a way that is like Mike Taylor's videos. Step
Yeah.
one, step
Yeah.
two, step three, step four. Now, there is some good information out there about how to use some of the things, some of the tools and pre-built things that are available. But there's a lot of guff out there. SAP have got this thing for measuring an organization's carbon footprint. Great concept. And for many companies, bigger companies, a very important topic.
Yeah.
But for your average small customer, they don't even know how much energy they're consuming in their manufacturing process. And you have to know all of those things to plug them in during the configuration process of this platform. So, it's great that you've got this platform there that you can use, but for many customers, they're still struggling with the basics. So,
Yeah.
I think more focus on giving people the ability to do the basics easier is key. And then whether it's BTP, Microsoft's Power Platform, or whatever, with Business One as your digital core, if you like, you can then go and consume all of those different things. And so for a partner, the key is, and if you're a partner consultant watching this and you're thinking about professional development, what should I learn next? I think the important thing to learn is you need to understand how the service layer works in SAP Business One. You need to understand B1I, because B1I is not going away, because if you need event driven integration with SAP Business One, where the integration occurs based on actions that the user takes in SAP Business One, you need to use B1I. Um, learning the service layer, learning B1I, and even the web client. Make sure you understand how the web client works, because you know what? Every customer that has a license can now start using the web client, and the analytics capabilities in the web client are fantastic. You don't need to go out and spend a huge amount of money to get started in with analytics and visualizing your data if you've got the web client. So again, go out and familiarize yourself with that. And SAP, the team have done a really good job of building a lot of videos. Before we were saying they need to do a better job of explaining stuff. Well, when it comes to the web client, they've built a website that's got a lot of this information. And I think you'll need to double check the URL, but I think it's something like learnsapbusinessonewebclient.com.
Yeah. But
And there's
to
a lot of great information there. So
yeah,
a
but the
little bit more
customer,
than answering the question about BTP. Sorry.
Yeah, but the customer can move to the web client with the existing license
Yes.
with all the add-ons and the integrations on his system right now, or he will lose some of them.
Okay, so if you have customized the user interface in SAP Business One with Boyum usability, you cannot use the transactional functionality in SAP Business One. If you have tailored the way that, for example, the sales order screen works, and you've got calculations occurring through formatted searches or through the UI API in the SAP Business One screen, then no, you cannot use the web client for that specific screen. But
Okay.
let's say, for example, you're using Boyum usability and you're using print and deliver, okay, and you have a process that in the background it automatically produces the invoices on a timed basis. That will still work if you've used the web client to put the invoices in. So it just depends on whether or not your customization occurs inside the user interface
Okay.
or outside the user interface. And that's the point that I was making now. What people have to start doing is decoupling that customization from the UI
Yeah.
and separating it into different components, which you can do through the web client. SAP again have got some training materials about extensibility with the web client. You just have to go and take the time and find the time, because we're all busy, but find the time and then take the time to learn about it, and then start thinking about how do I put that into place. And the other call to action there is just make a start. You know, Nike, great advertising slogan, just do it. Easy to say, hard to do, but you've just got to make a start.
So you mean the extensibility course on the Learning Hub?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, we will share the link for the partners. We
Yeah.
already started this,
Yeah.
and it's there's a lot of material. There's a lot
There
of
is a lot of
videos.
material.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to learn. And again, it's like building a house. You've got to start with a strong foundation.
Foundation.
And
Yeah.
that strong foundation is knowing what you can do with SAP Business One and those technologies like the service layer, like B1I,
Yeah.
even the DI API. It's not going away tomorrow, you know. So understanding those things, that's the basic foundation, and then you build. You know, it's like building a um, roti,
Yeah.
the Malaysian pastry. You know, they roll it out and then they fold it over and roll it out again and fold it over, and in the end, when you cook it, it's all of these layers of lovely, tasty, buttery goodness that you know you can soak up your curry or your gravy of choice with. You know, but
Yeah.
that's what it's like. It's a matter of building this thing in layers.
Good answer. So the next
I like
question is
roti, by the way, in case you can't tell.
so you will make us hungry right now. So
Yeah, it's dinner time where you are. Here it's breakfast, you know. So you can have
yeah,
roti for breakfast.
yeah, it's 4:30 here. So
Yeah.
you mentioned also the vendor consolidation,
Mm.
and I want you to explain for us what is the vendor consolidation.
All right. So vendor consolidation, the context that I was referring to in my comment on your LinkedIn post.
Yeah.
Right now, there are a number of, and I might not make any friends here, but hey, I'm here to help customers and partners, but I'm not here to be a paid voice to, you know, give people a blessing or whatever. But there's a lot of partners who are going around now buying other partners. Okay, they've got um, equity partners behind them, giving them lots of money, and they're all. It's like the early days of the 2000s when you know it was an internet land grab. Now you've got partners buying other partners, buying other partners, buying other partners, and consolidating them all down into these really large partner organizations around the world. Now, the challenge there for a customer is that when a partner gets really big, their overheads get really high and their hourly consulting rates have to climb accordingly. It's the same reason why when you buy a bottle of wine at a restaurant, it's 3, 4, 5 times more expensive than what you can buy it yourself at the liquor store, because they've got to have a way to generate the revenue to cover the overheads. So, I'm not saying that big partners are bad. That's not what I'm saying. There's a lot of great partners out there, with great people doing great things for their customers and helping their customers. But what I am saying is that the amount of choice for customers is decreasing. So if you don't like your partner, and let's face it, you can't love everyone. There's people out there who absolutely loathe and detest me, and even if I was the last person on earth, they would not want to, interact with me. So be it. You can't love everyone. But, I guess this consolidation is, in some respects, forcing a customer's hand. Sometimes they feel like they don't have a choice, and sometimes they get told by people at their partner or at SAP or whatever, or they just assume that they don't have a choice. Well, they do. So then here's the thing, that this to me spells opportunity. So there's an opportunity for new, smaller partners to come to the fore and not spend all their time chasing after other partners' customers to try and poach them. Let's face it though, a customer doesn't get stolen from an organization. They make a choice to leave and go somewhere else. So this concept that some organizations have, that they own the customer. Nobody owns a customer. Nobody owns you. Nobody owns me. We have brand preferences. We have organizations we like to do business with, but sometimes our view changes and we want to do business with somebody else. For example, for us in our organization, if you want a contract, you can have one, but we don't force people to sign contracts. You can terminate your cloud hosting with us with 30 days notice if there's a problem. We've not had anybody do that. But the thing is, you want to have the choice. So consolidation is reducing the amount of choice, but the opportunity is there for new partners to be established, for smaller partners to grow. Again, at the end of the day, every business has a different strategy. For some businesses, the strategy is to become as big as possible and then sell. My strategy in my business is to deliver a great solution at an affordable price to customers who we want to do business with, not to become the world's largest hosting company. That drives, in my opinion, behaviors that aren't necessarily the best ones and aren't necessarily the most customer focused, which is why I've resisted multiple attempts from equity companies to buy my company or put money into my company, because it drives a different set of behaviors. And
So
again, like I said, I'm a little bit of a lefty, so please don't hate me
no, no,
if you're not. But
I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I think if you do all those things correctly, customers will stay with you, and you will win new customers. Year upon year upon year, and that's the reason why, even though SAP have taken their focus away from Business One from a marketing perspective, customers keep adding more users. They keep renewing their maintenance every year, and new customers keep coming on board.
So do you think that SAP can, because at the end of the day, as you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
this will affect the market,
Mm-hmm.
when a vendor or when a partner, a big shark,
Mm-hmm.
is acquiring small partners,
Yes.
the competition will not be the same. So do you think that SAP have something to do to stop this? Because
I
uh,
don't look. I don't think they want to stop it. They can't stop it. It's anti-competitive to try and stop it, and the market will do what the market will do.
yeah, but
Um,
maybe they can support the small partners by
Look, I was at SAP and I was in a channel facing role, and I can tell you. So I'm just going to go. I just need to quickly change my notification settings so that I'm not getting these pop up messages all the time
okay.
when we're talking. I'm occasionally getting these background alert noises. So
Yeah.
sorry, just switch that off. Um, what all vendors are about is reducing cost. Okay, the more revenue they have, the lower the costs, the greater the profit, the happier the shareholders are, the bigger the bonuses are, the employees
Mm,
get paid. So, from SAP's perspective, I think they believe that if you look at it on a spreadsheet, less partners that are bigger means less cost and more profit. But in my experience, that's not necessarily how the equation works out, because something has to give. You know, whether it's customer satisfaction might go down, whether it's the quality of the services delivered might go down, whatever. But you don't ever expect a vendor like Microsoft or SAP or SUSE or any of these guys to try and do anything that's going to do anything other than increase their profits and increase the returns to shareholders.
yeah, but
Um,
I believe that SAP should take care of this point because um, by the year, um, if there is no companies like us, for example, ZConsulto, we are a
mhm.
small company. We have a lot of energy to do something. We want to do something.
Yes.
So that makes us makes the market makes there is a lot of options. So the
Yeah.
customer, if the customer is not happy, they can go to another
Yeah. They can
partner.
always vote with their feet,
And
and you're,
also we have this motive to put a lot of time on the software, which is not so. Big sharks or big companies have employees, and the employee is working from 9 to 5, then I'm going
they
home.
go
But
home.
me and my team, sometimes we can work in the holiday and we are happy because we want to achieve something. So
Yes.
this spirit, I believe that SAP needs this. They need this spirit, uh, and if
Yeah.
things goes like that, there's a. And you mentioned that, and this is the next question.
Yes.
There's multiple ERPs. There is a big competition in the market. So,
Yes.
what do you think? How SAP? Because Acumatica, and in the United States, maybe company like Acumatica is not that big like SAP, but believe me, maybe in the next 10 years, you don't know how the market will be.
Well, the market is constantly changing, and
Yeah.
you're right. And today's small companies today's small company is tomorrow's giant, and today's giant can sometimes become tomorrow's roadkill. I mean, we all saw what happened with Nokia, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. The
so
product.
you're right. People have to keep a focus on that. I think all you and I can do um, is encourage our vendors to do the right thing, and you vote with your feet. You try. I jokingly say people at SAP are sick of me going blah 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 blah. Um, but you have to be a strong advocate. You have to be a strong and respectful advocate for your position. Um, and just the same as you have to be a strong and respectful advocate for your product when you are in talking to a potential new customer. Because you're right, when it comes to the ERP market, there are a lot of choices, although interestingly, there aren't a lot of new ERP products being brought to market, just the same as there aren't a lot of graduates, pardon me, coming out of university who say, I want to be an ERP software consultant, because it's not sexy. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not a hot topic, but um, it's something that there will always be a need for. So, I think what we have to do, what software vendors have to do, is focus on the basics. Make sure you have a product that is easy to consume, that is affordable, that and when I say easy to consume, I mean there's lots of partners out there who can help a customer to deploy it. Um, that it's easy to deploy, that it uses all the latest technologies, that most importantly, solves the business problem of the customer. And that's the key issue, I think, that we all have to focus on, is making sure we understand and we can articulate how our product, in this case SAP Business One, can solve the problem for the customer. Now, I guarantee you, most ERP products on the market can solve customers' problems. It's just how well they do it, how quickly, how cost effectively they do it. That's the thing, and that's the role of the partner, is to understand the customer's problem, understand the product they're selling, and then bring those two together. It's a term when I used to deliver sales training we called situational fluency, knowing and understanding the customer's problem, knowing and understanding your product's ability, and being able to match them up to deliver what the customer wants. So whether it's Acumatica, SAP Business One, Business Central, any of the Dynamics flavors, Odoo, NetSuite, you could rattle them off. I think they'll all do a reasonable job, but they will all, that each one has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Our
So
job is to make sure people understand the strengths and weaknesses of SAP Business One, and it's a strong product, but it
yeah,
has some weaknesses.
yeah. But here, this will take me to another point regarding
Mm,
SAP also,
mm,
which is the software itself. It's general software. It's a SAP
yes.
Business One is a general ERP. You can use it
Yep.
in a manufacturing
Yes.
industry. You can use it in a wholesale industry. You can use it in any industry. It is
Hmm.
not. It is not specifically tailored for a specific industry. But
Unless you bring in a complementary solution and together
yeah,
you can go after a particular industry. But yep,
yeah.
sorry,
But
continue.
I believe that, or this is my question for you: do you
Mm-hmm.
believe that this makes the consultant, because the consultant at the end of the day, um, uh, so I'm SAP Business One consultant, but
Mm-hmm.
I for sure I'm not an expert in the wholesale and in manufacturing and in the pharmaceutical. And
Mm-hmm.
so as a consultant in this
Yes.
generalized solution, do you think there is something that I should do to understand the industry that I will do the implementation for? Or SAP also should do this as a in the learning hub or something. Hey guys, if you will do this implementation for the wholesale, this is the main key points that you should take care of. Those guys are focusing on the and this is Acumatica what they are doing. Acumatica, they have their wholesale thing. They also will tell you, if this is a wholesale industry, they will need e-commerce, maybe they will need the point of sale, maybe they will need warehouse WMS. So and all of this is ready. So I'm my question for you, and I'm sorry if I talk a lot
No, 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 it's
about this.
okay.
Yeah, is the consultant need to study or to do their homework before they go to or what? So what do you think about that?
Without a
Is
doubt.
the
Without a doubt. Okay. You as a consultant, and now let's just address the audience as if they are an audience full of consultants. But it applies for customers as well, But if you're a consultant, people are paying you for your expertise. It is incumbent on you, me, all of us in our industry to be constantly learning. You cannot go into an industry um, and compete with somebody else who is an industry expert if you do not understand the industry. You will lose. You will lose big time. And let's face it, a lot of us have lost deals. I've lost deals where I just didn't understand the customer's industry enough to be able to give them what they needed.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk their language. I didn't understand their business problems. So yes, it's incumbent on you as a consultant to, you can be a generalist and you can make a very nice living as a generalist. But if you are going to present yourself to a customer as an expert on their industry, boy, oh boy, you better be. Don't go in and say, oh, well, yes, I'm an expert on wholesale distribution just because you know that there's this thing called bin locations. I mean, that's not an expert.
Yeah.
And the good news is it's easy to find that information by going out and studying on the internet. Even the industry associations, if you've picked out a particular industry that you want to focus on, go and join one of those industry associations. They used to have it with manufacturing, you know, and so I know that those opportunities exist to learn those things in all these different industries. It's not the responsibility of the vendor to teach you how to be an industry expert. By the
Yeah.
same token, don't believe everything every vendor tells you. I mean, sure, Acumatica have got a wholesale edition and they've got a manufacturing edition, and that's just packaging. Okay, that's just the way that the marketing guys package up the functionality they have. I could give you a manufacturing edition of Business One, an e-commerce edition of Business One. I could give you those things on any ERP product in the market. It's just packaging and
Yeah.
marketing. And some companies do a better job at it than others do. But the opportunity there is for you as a consultant and as a partner to pick your industry. And I've built YouTube videos talking about this back when I used to travel the world for SAP, training partners on marketing and sales and pre-sales, because this was always the key message. You will find it easier and you will be more successful if you pick an area and you specialize. If you're trying to be a generalist and do everything for everyone, it's very hard to be successful. It's very hard to do marketing. It's very hard to build a skill set if you're trying to do everything for everyone. So pick an industry and focus. But
Perfect.
don't ask
So
the vendor to do it. SAP used to have what they called industry business units, IBUs. And those guys, it was their responsibility to learn everything that they needed to know about that industry. And then if you were inside SAP and you had a question about a particular industry, let's say you're a sales rep and all the sales reps, most of them were generalists. I think it's fair to say you would go to the industry business unit and you would grab an expert out of that industry business unit who would come along on the sales calls with you. And every time the customer started talking stuff specifically about their industry,
mm,
that industry business unit person
this
would
is so
be there
smart.
and they knew what they were talking about. That's easy to do in a company with 75,000 employees. Not so
Yeah.
easy to do in a company with seven.
Sure. I can
So,
see.
you know, do your research before you go and talk to the customer. And now I don't want to turn this into a sales, pre-sales marketing course. I could do that. But you just have to make sure you do the hard work first. Do your research, do your learning first before you walk into the customer. Otherwise, you deserve everything you get. When the customer shows you the door and as you leave, you overhear them saying, well, boy, that was a waste of time. You don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Okay, do your research first and qualify. Again, sales training. Um, I always used to say to people, you're always, that used to be the old method used to be always be closing, always be looking to close the deal. My recommendation to people was always be qualifying. know at what point do you say to the customer respectfully, I don't think that we are the right company for you, or I don't think that this is the right product for you. Now, that will send shivers up a vendor's spine because every vendor believes that every customer should buy their product, no matter what, okay? Because it's all about the revenue number. But you've got to, Kenny Rogers, the wise old man of country music, said you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. So it's the same thing as a consultant. And that all comes down to what you know. And what you know comes down to what you're prepared to learn.
So going back to the
Not sure if I
choosing.
answered your question, but anyway.
So you mentioned that each partner should choose their industry that they want to focus on.
Well, they don't
So
have to, but it's a recommendation.
yeah, let's say a company that will start and they don't have those people who are expert in. So uh, big companies have experts. Why? Because as you mentioned, most of
Well,
ERP
they should.
consultants. Yeah,
Yep.
they should, but most of ERP consultants are not ERP consultants. They came from another areas. So like your story, everybody come to this show, they mentioned the same thing. I
Yep.
was working on a different, even me, I was an electrical engineer in an oil and gas company. Then I
Yep.
shifted my, so uh, big companies have those varieties of consultants. They have
Mm.
a person who come from the oil and gas, a person who come from a wholesale, and then they share. But for small companies who want to start, what do you think the most, not the most, or not the easiest uh, industry, but the industry that they will not struggle and they can give the value to the customer and it's easy to understand? What do you think? Or it is
Well,
not like that?
yeah, I think the short answer is it's not necessarily like that. But
Yeah.
the trouble is, if you're looking to be generic, every product can potentially be generic. So if you acknowledge that as the starting point, then okay, let's answer the question. You look at the product that you have. Um, so, for example, let's say SAP Business One or Acumatica, um, or Business Central. They all do a really good job of handling the requirements of a wholesale distribution business that buys and sells a product. They all do a really good job of handling the functionality for an average professional services based organization. They all do a really good job of handling the requirements of an organization with fairly standard financials and fairly standard financial requirements. Okay. Um, so, any one of those industries, and they're not really even industries, they're not verticals, they're, if you like, they're horizontals. A vertical would be somebody that produces um, pharmaceutical products, the regulated manufacturing, or somebody that produces, um, refrigerated products with a short shelf life, because the functionality that I need as a company that manufactures food products is very different to the functionality that I need as a company that manufactures ball bearings. Okay. Um, but the good news is, in the SAP Business One world, there are solutions out there for both. There are manufacturing solutions that work hand in glove with SAP Business One to help you go after the ball bearing manufacturer and the food manufacturer and the wholesale distribution company, in the fast moving consumer goods field. So all those things are there. There is no magic wand. There is no quick path to success. You've got all of those. But give you another example. In the early days when I was at Acumatica, we were competing with a product which has since been acquired by Sage, which is called Intact. Now, Intact had no inventory functionality whatsoever. So it was an easy beat. Okay.
Yeah.
If the customer needed inventory, they didn't buy Intact. It
Yeah.
was an easy sell. It was very easy to point out the difference. Oh, you need inventory. don't buy Intact because it's the functionality isn't available. And they would say, oh, there's a third party for that. But then you would go, really, inventory, a core functionality like that, you've got to get that from a third party.
Yeah.
Forget it. And you've got that today with a small package like Xero, right? If you want to do inventory with Xero, you need to buy an additional package to manage the inventory, which is why most people, when they've got heavy inventory requirements, they don't buy Xero. They will buy the next product up. Even if it's a little bit too big for them, they have to make that choice. So, that's just the way that it is. So you just you have to start somewhere. Now, you can, before you even start your business, you can sit there and you can do market research and you can say, okay, I'm in this particular geographic location, and in my geographic location, for example, you're in Michigan. A lot of manufacturing companies
Yeah.
in the automotive space. So, am I going to throw my hat in the ring and become one of 5,000 companies trying to sell to that kind of organization? Yes. If that's your decision, then you need to make sure you are learning what you need to learn to be competitive. Or you can say, you know what, there's already 5,000 people going after that market. I think there's a really good market here for me doing the people who do electronic components for aftermarket manufacturers. So you learn everything you need to know about that, and then you learn how do you make your product fit that market, and then you go from there. That becomes your process. But that's a strategic decision that you have to make. Just the
Yeah.
same as we made the strategic decision in our business, we don't sell and implement SAP Business One. We only do
Yeah.
the hosting, right?
Yeah.
Some people would say, oh, well, why don't you sell SAP Business One? Think of how much revenue you could potentially make. Yeah, but it's a whole different animal. And suddenly, would you as a partner want to put your hosting with a company that is also potentially a competitor? I don't think so, you know? So
Yeah.
you've got to make choices,
Perfect.
unfortunately.
Perfect answer. This is
Yeah.
really because you mentioned three things right
Mm.
now to summarize this with you. Number one, do your research, do a good research,
Mhm.
choose your niche, and also make sure that you are not in a market that you will compete a lot of competitors. So choose at the beginning something that there's no not that much
Competition.
competitors, and yeah,
Yeah.
not that much competition.
Unless you have something really compelling that nobody else has. And
Yeah.
for some organization, that comes down to you've got a person, or you've invented some kind of process,
Yeah.
or you've got some kind of secret sauce that nobody else has. You've got the KFC, what is it? I don't know how many secret herbs and spices that they've got.
Yeah.
You've got a special recipe that no one else has.
Perfect. So this takes me to the next question. What is your secret sauce in implementations when you are doing implementations?
Okay, good question. And some of you can still hear the notifications maybe going off in the background. So you're thinking, this guy said he was going to
You're
stop that.
busy. You
Yeah.
are a busy person, so
Well,
we
it's
are fine with
early
that.
morning, so this is when we get a lot of questions coming in from partners, because I do a lot of consulting work helping
Yeah.
partners around the world as well. Um, so when you asked me before, did I do Business One consulting? Well, I actually do, but only to partners, not to customers. So I've got a lot of
Okay.
partners around the world
Okay.
that we help. But anyway, what is? Ask me the question again. It was about the
What is the secret sauce of a successful ERP implementation?
okay process. Process. And it's good that you mentioned this, because you know what? I thought it had died and gone to heaven, but SAP have an implementation process for Business One called the Accelerated Implementation Program,
Yeah.
AIP.
Yeah.
Well, I used to go around the world teaching people in the SAP Business One partner product training courses. how to use the AIP. And as luck would have it, guess what just turned up on the Partner Edge portal in the last, I think in the last 7 days? A new version of the AIP 4.0.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a standard process of your own, start with that. Okay, follow that process. But you have to have a process. You have to have a process that starts during the sales process where you are correctly collecting and documenting the customer's requirements. As a salesperson, that you are collecting and documenting what you committed to, what you said you would do, so that you can explain it to the consultants. You need to make sure that you don't make promises that you can't keep. There are too many salespeople out there who say, I'm sure it can be done because I've got great consultants. And next thing you know, the project gets handed over to you as a consultant and you're sitting there going, how could you tell them the product does that out of the box? It
It
doesn't.
happens all the time.
Well, look, the Boyum usability package, do you know why 75% of all customers around the world using Business One use Boyum usability? Because for so many organizations, it's a get out of jail free card. I didn't realize the customer needed the software to do that. With Boyum usability, it's really easy to tailor it so that it does. So Boyum usability helps you get out of jail when you didn't quite understand the requirements, or you didn't quite document it, or you just flat out missed it.
Yeah.
That was something that you didn't ask the question, the customer didn't volunteer the information. So yeah, collect all that information up front, document it, and then follow a process. Don't I could sit here and explain the AIP to you, but don't I'm not going to do that. Go on to if you're an SAP partner, because obviously that's who this question was tailored at answering the question for. Go onto the Partner Edge portal. Go and take a look at the Accelerated Implementation Program. Under the Partner Edge portal, and I'm doing SAP's job for them here, you've got Sell, Market, Implement, Support. Go in there under the Implement section. It's actually right now, it's on the homepage. If you go into the SAP Business One area, or even just do a search for AIP 4.0. Everything you need to know is in there. If you have got no idea, follow that process and I guarantee you'll be a hell of a lot better off than a lot of your competitors who are still thrashing around because they think they know how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Great
just
answer.
worst case scenario, use the Accelerated Implementation Program.
Great answer. Great answer. So, and on the flip side, what are the common mistakes that you think most ERP consultants make during the implementation?
Not doing the things that we just talked about, the things that you should do. Not taking the time to diagnose before you prescribe. Imagine you went into the doctor and the doctor says, why are you here? And you say, well, I'm not feeling well. And they immediately reach for their prescription pad and start writing you out a prescription and hand you over a prescription. You're not necessarily going to go and take that prescription and get it filled and start taking the drugs that they gave you, because they didn't spend enough time understanding what the problem was. Well, you don't feel well. Can you be more specific? Do you have a pain somewhere? Okay, I've got a pain in my arm. Okay, whereabouts in your arm? When did the pain start? Is there things that you do to make the pain worse? Is there things that you do to make the pain go away? This is not rocket science. And the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, is called that for a reason. You follow the basics. Think about how you do these things. Make sure you diagnose before you prescribe, and don't assume that you know the answer because I'm an expert. I'm charging you $240 an hour for my consulting fees. Therefore, I am an expert. I know. You don't need to tell me your problems. I know your problems because I'm an expert. Lots of people out there who go and present themselves like that. Somebody comes to me like that, I immediately my back goes up, and I'm looking for the first opportunity I can to show them the door, because arrogance in a
Yeah.
consultant is just a trait that you just don't want to have, because you can always learn something new. Nobody knows everything. They might think they do. I might think I know everything sometimes, but I don't. Every week I learn something new. I'm 60 and I'm still learning, about all kinds of things. So, and everything I learn helps me be a better resource for my customers and partners. So that's the driver. So, yeah, the biggest mistake you can make is don't do enough diagnosis before you start prescribing. And don't assume that because you've been into another company that does what this company does, that you know the answer. The number of times I've gone into organizations and they say to you, well, we're a wholesale distribution company. I'm sure you've dealt with lots of wholesale distribution companies, and we're no different to them. And then they sit down and explain to you a process for how they do things that you have never seen in your entire life. Sometimes it's really crap. You go, oh my, you think to yourself, you never say it, oh my God, why do you do it like that? And oftentimes the answer is, well, that's the way we've always done it. Or it might be something that's absolutely revolutionary, and that's what gives them their unique selling proposition. I think that's what, back to your previous question, that's what people are looking for, is a unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. So yeah, diagnose, 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 ask questions. Cliche, 2 ears, 1 mouth, although I haven't been demonstrating it in this call, but I'm here to talk. Listen twice as much as you talk.
Yeah.
Always, always be asking questions. Always be asking open-ended questions. Why do you do that? What's the impact if that is not working? What happens when this happens? What happens when? What happens when? Why? What, when, why, who, how? Those questions are a consultant's friend. Okay, make
Interesting.
sure every question you ask starts with one of those, and write down the answers. Don't be the guy who just collected all this information, walked out, and then promptly forgot it. You hand the project over, the customer, next person comes in and starts asking the same questions, and the customer goes, I explained to one of your colleagues all of this. Are you
Yeah.
people stupid? Did you not write anything down? Did you place so little value on the information I gave you that you didn't even bother to record it? That will get you thrown out of a customer real quick, smart. And it
Yeah.
happens more than you think.
Yeah.
Maybe Eric
I
Kimberling talked about some of these things, in his session. I haven't watched it all, but, you're being paid to be an expert. For God's sake, act like one. Be one.
Yeah. Perfect. Interesting. Interesting. So, if you will give an advice for a
Mm,
junior consultant that he will
mm,
start this career, so
mm.
what your advice for that
Probably
person?
no more than what I've already talked about. If you've managed to make it this far in this conversation, the audience, everything I've told you already, I think I've touched on all of those things. Whether you're a here's the thing: whether you're a junior consultant or a senior consultant, always be learning, always be
Yeah.
looking to
Learn.
learn something
Yeah.
new. Now, when you're a junior consultant, when you are I'm looking for a blank piece of paper, and of
Yeah.
course I don't have one. When you're a junior consultant, right, you might look like this. That's your piece of paper. That's your knowledge. You want to get to this,
Mm,
okay?
yeah.
So everybody starts from here. How do you get from one to the other? Is you get there by constantly learning, asking questions. And like Mike Taylor said, sometimes we're not all blessed to be in an organization that encourages questions to be asked of other people. And sometimes we don't have colleagues who are willing to share their knowledge. Sometimes we end up working in organizations where knowledge is a closely guarded secret, because other consultants in your company, even in businesses, other people in the business don't want to share what they know because they believe that's their secret sauce. That's their unique selling proposition.
Yeah,
That's what makes sure they don't get fired. Um,
I hate those people.
yeah, well, I think we all do, but they exist,
Yeah,
and it just is what it is. The world is full of different people with different approaches to life.
yeah,
Um, the good news is the internet is the great leveler, and Chat GPT, again, I'm not a fan of AI. I'm not a, they talk about you got crypto bros or AI bros, or, they jump onto the latest technology and blockchain bros. Oh, it's going to change. It's going to revolutionize the world. You must do this. You must do that. They're usually trying to sell you something. Um, but this is where I see the benefit of ChatGPT. Even if, just try this for yourself. Go on to ChatGPT, go back to your previous question. What are the top 10 problems faced by equipment manufacturers in the automotive sector? Try typing that into ChatGPT and see how you go. I'm pretty sure you'll come away with some knowledge that you didn't know before.
yeah,
And then just on those 10 fingers, um, uh, actually 8 fingers, 2 thumbs, but you'll come away and you'll know something more, and then you'll actually have a starting point then to drill down further. That's interesting. Why is that? What do I need to learn about that? And again, I guarantee you'll find the answer on the internet. You'll find the answer on Wikipedia. And I mean, I use Wikipedia all the time. If you do use Wikipedia all the time, please give them a donation. Okay,
yeah,
make sure that you contribute something back to help make sure these tools keep going. I'm going to sound like Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, who constantly we're all getting messages at the bottom of Wikipedia saying, "Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Can you give us some money?" If you use a product,
yeah.
if you use a tool, give them some money.
Support them.
You know,
Yeah, and
um,
also you can regarding ChatGPT, it's not
mm,
only the extra mile that you can do when you ask the question, you can ask it ChatGPT because it is connected to the internet now. Please give
mhm.
me references. So ChatGPT will give you the answer with the reference from the website, and you
Yep.
can it will gives you more information, more website that you can open and read more. So learn. This is Richard's advice for you guys. So
Secret sauce.
yeah,
Always keep learning. Never think you're too old to stop learning. As I said, I'm 60. Every week I learn something new. It burns my britches. Last year at the SAP conference, a person who shall remain nameless stood up and said a comment similar to, well, if you're going to build a product for today's market, you need to have a whole bunch of developers who are under 30, because if they're over 30, they just don't get it. What a load of garbage. I mean, really? Um,
oh
it's just one of those things.
yeah,
So yeah, always be learning.
yeah, there. Interesting. So my last question for you before we start the perspective play game.
Okay,
Uh,
this is going to be a long session. This is probably one of the longest sessions you've ever done. You might have to chop it up into pieces, and I don't think
yeah,
anybody can sit through this much,
and
Richard Duffy.
and I believe that we will need another session maybe in the next 2 3 months. We will need another session with
Let's
you.
do another one after the next round of SAP conferences,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe.
100%. We will do that. So my last question for you,
Mm,
as an ERP uh, business owner, or
mm,
you have been in this field
mm.
um, more than 20 years, 30 years, 40 years.
Yep, yep.
You
Make me
mentioned
feel old. Yeah.
since 1990s. So
When dinosaurs roamed the earth. Yep.
yeah, so in your opinion, what is the most challenging part on managing an ERP company? Is it the sales, the marketing, the technical things, the implementation? What do you think?
They're all difficult. They're all difficult, and they all have different things that make them difficult.
Yeah,
Um, every one of those disciplines, and they are all separate disciplines, selling, marketing, implementation, support, administration. They are all very specific disciplines that all have their own set of challenges. Is any one more important than the other? No, because you have to have all of those disciplines covered to build a holistic business that works and operates well. Um, but the thing that I would say, what does it come down to? Comes down to finding the right people and having the right processes. So people and process, people and process, people and process. That's what's worked for us. And one of the things that was really good for us was we just got our SOC 2 certification. And SOC 2, ISO 27001, all of those certification processes, some people laugh about them and say, oh, they're just pieces of paper. But what they do is they help you make sure that you document your processes. So, no matter what you do in every single one of those dimensions, every single one of those disciplines, make sure your
So I'm
processes
sorry,
are
what is
documented.
this certificates again? What is this kind of?
Um, SOC 2, it's a certification that's published by the American Institute of Certified Practicing Accountants, and it is a standard by which organizations are measured on how they handle 5 different dimensions of managing information. Okay,
Okay,
um, so
I
it's
never heard of.
yep. If you are dealing with public companies or regulated manufacturing or something like that, eventually they're going to ask you, do you have SOC 2 certification? Because you get an external organization approved by the AICPA who come in and audit your processes for a period of 3 months and check against a standardized set of guidelines that you meet all of those criteria.
Is this for the like cloud hosting thing, or also for the ERP?
Consultants,
Yeah.
cloud hosting, anybody that actually handles anybody else's information, but it is more specific for IT related businesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and off the back end of that, you get a SOC 2 report. You get a SOC 2 type 1, SOC 2 type 2, SOC 2 type 3. All of these things, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I didn't quite get that SOC 2 thing he was talking about, go into Chat GPT and say, what is SOC 2? SOC 2.
Yeah.
You will get an answer within 20 seconds.
Perfect.
And it'll
I
be
will
a
do
better
that.
answer than I can give you. Um, but
I will.
again, it was really about making sure that you've got the processes in place and that they're documented.
Yeah.
So, 2 most important things, no matter what the discipline, the right people with the right processes.
Yeah.
Um, you
That's
know,
that's interesting, and the right
but that,
people.
to be honest, that's not earth-shattering information. I think some people will be sitting there going, "Yeah, well, I know that. Tell me something I don't know." I'm not necessarily sure I can tell you something that you don't necessarily already know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. But
maybe it's just a reminder.
yeah. But you are a successful person. You have your company. You have been working on multiple successful companies. So when you
I'm not dead
mentioned,
yet.
but when you mentioned that. To be to cover those challenges, you need to do 1 2 3, as you mentioned. We
Hmm.
should keep that in mind. And honestly, I'm asking you that also because I'm here to learn.
Hmm.
You mentioned learn, and
Well, you're
uh,
already a step ahead.
I'm with in the in this market. There's a very very big competition. There's a very
Hmm.
very big sharks. So
Yes,
uh, we
there's
need
big
to know.
fish, but you know what? The little
Yeah,
fish can make a really good life whilst
I
swimming
hope.
amongst the big fish.
I
Just
hope.
don't get eaten.
I hope. Yeah. Last couple of months. we have an offer. We got an offer for
Mm,
acquisition,
mm,
but we want to do that. We want to we want to continue. We feel that
yeah.
we are happy
Look,
with the
I'm
company.
not saying you shouldn't ever agree to be acquired or anything like that. There will be a different answer for the question for everyone. For
Yeah,
us, and what sounds like for you, the answer is no, thank you. I
yeah,
want to stay independent. I want to keep doing what I'm doing. So
yeah,
nothing wrong with being acquired, though. If
yeah.
it's right for you,
It's yeah, 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 yeah. But this is our this is
that's your
what we love.
decision. Yep,
This is
yep,
what we love. We love this career. We love this job. We love
yep.
helping. As you mentioned, you love to teach people something, and that's what you are doing in SAP. You
Yeah.
mentioned,
I'm happy to share my knowledge. I
yeah.
think that's what it comes down
So
to.
if I told you no, please don't do this, I will buy your company and you will have only money. No, I love my job. I love
Mm,
meeting people. I love to see that they are satisfied after I complete the implementation. This is something you can't give me. I can't
yep.
purchase this. I can't buy this.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So this was very very interesting. So moving to the last thing, the perspective play segment,
Yes.
and this is a game. I will tell you like a statement,
Hmm.
and I will be waiting for your comment
A
on
word association test. Yep, I got it.
that. Okay, so the first statement: true leadership isn't just about guiding others, it's about continuous learning and adapting.
Absolutely true. And I think if you take anything away from this entire session, that is the message. We
Yeah,
just finished talking about it. Always be learning.
yeah, perfect. So the second one, every challenge in business is an opportunity for growth and innovation. You love challenges.
Absolutely. Again, I know I'm supposed to only answer these with maybe one or two words, but you learn the most when things are difficult. I learn the most about any product or any process when it goes wrong.
Yeah,
Um, I have learned the most about SAP Business One, about Microsoft Windows, about networking when things don't work, because unfortunately, in many instances, you have to find the answers yourself.
yeah, perfect. Okay, the last one. The key to long term success is not just the decisions we make, but in the resilience we maintain.
Mm. So the resilience we maintain, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's interesting. As soon as you started asking this question, it immediately made me think back. For those of you who have seen the film Jerry Maguire, it starts and it ends, and scattered throughout the film is it's pictures of or sections of Jerry Maguire's mentor, an older guy, talking about what he's learned. Um, and so that's why I was kind of smiling. But yeah, resilience is critical to everything. The world we live in today, so I'm going to do Jerry Maguire again. We live in a tough world filled with tough competitors. This is the big speech where she says, "Oh, you had me at hello." But this is what it's like. Life is not easy. The industry that we work in, the industries that we work in, are not easy. The easiest job I ever had was when I was a builder's labourer. I didn't have to think too much. I just had to work hard physically. And when I went home at the end of the day, I was physically tired, but I didn't worry about had I stacked the bricks the right way, had I moved enough bricks, had I shoveled enough dirt, had I dug enough trenches. It was not one of those things. But most businesses now, there is always things to worry about, particularly as a business owner. Um, Again, always be learning. Don't ever think that you're the only person who's ever encountered these problems. Join an association, um, talk to your peers, attend conferences, do all of those things, and ask for help when you need it. There's a
Yeah,
lot of this on LinkedIn now, where people are talking about how difficult it is, and how it's okay that if you're struggling to ask for help. Okay, we went back to Mike Taylor's comment: don't ask for help too soon, but don't ask for help too late.
yeah,
Make sure
yeah,
that if you want to build resilience, that resilience comes from having a supporting structure around you. No man or woman is an island, they famously said. No one can do what they do without the support of others. I firmly believe that. And anybody who tells you that they don't need anybody and that they're a self-made man or whatever is a sociopath. So that's just my opinion.
yeah.
Born out by watching people in the world today. But yeah, to be resilient, you have to have support and a supporting network of people. And support comes from the most unlikely places.
Thank you so much for your advice, Richard. And it has been incredible to meet you and to listen about all your insights in the ERP, about all your experiences. It was really interesting. And
Thank you.
also,
Thanks for the opportunity to
yeah,
share.
thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I know you are so busy, but you accepted the invitation. So we are so grateful for that. And also, we will schedule another session maybe after the summit
Yep.
to meet you again and ask you more and more questions about SAP Business One. And for our listeners, thank you so much for listening us. If you have anybody that you want to hear their experience, please share with us in the comment. Make sure to show us some love and give us a like on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on podcast 5 star Apple Podcast, and we will keep pushing boundaries and exploring new horizons. Thank you, everybody, and see you soon on another episode in ERP Talks. Thank you so much.